So we're kind of approaching a point in Warzone's life cycle with my channel where I've covered a lot of the main shotgun stuff, a lot of the good stuff, a lot of the really, really crazy stuff we've kind of talked about. And there isn't a lot, but yes, I covered most of it. However, there are certain things sometimes that do slip through the crack for whatever reason. Either I just don't think it's that good and worth making a video about, or I just kind of forget about and just kind of don't even bother touching it. Today's video is going to be exactly one of those things because we're talking about the BOLO YOLO rounds on the Haymaker shotgun. Now there's two shotguns that have BOLO rounds. That is the Lockwood 680, which they're terrible on that one in multiplayer and in Warzone, trust me. And then we also have them on the Haymaker. And guys, I'm sorry to say, I'm sorry I haven't covered these before, but man, these things are so much fun on the Haymaker and they work extremely well. And they have a little secret that is just kind of overlooked when you compare them to like explosive slugs and regular slugs. These things have a secret weapon that I'm going to be talking about. I'm going to dive into why this ammo type on the Haymaker might actually be the best slug type option we have for the Haymaker. And again, I can't believe I haven't covered it, but today that ends. We are talking about the BOLO YOLO rounds, so get ready, guys. If you want to check out a certain part of the video, like the best class up that I have two of them. Make sure to check out the timestamps below. With all that being said, let's go ahead and dive into sim.gg real quick so I can explain some things to you guys about the damage and what's so nice about it. So real quick, let me summarize this for you. So this is the explosive slugs damage profile. As you can see, very good up close. That's only out to 3.6 meters. In this next range, you can see still really good, but you have to hit chest shots, and this is outside of 3.6 meters. So this can be very unforgiving. If you hit stomach, it's going to take 4. If you hit limbs and stuff, again, it's going to take more shots. But the nice thing about this is it takes 3 shots with chest shots. But of course, that isn't super practical. Now let's take a look at the BOLO rounds. As you can see from this damage profile, what do you notice here? Well, the big thing here is that basically upper torso, anything above the legs, you are basically getting the same damage no matter what. This is going to have insane consistency compared to a lot of the other slug builds because of this fact. As long as you are hitting above that torso, the waistline, you are going to get very consistent 3-shot kills in this max damage range. Now, it's only 5.8 meters, but keep in mind, this has the largest 3-shot potential for the stomach area out of all of the ammo types on the Haymaker. This has the best 3-shot kill for stomach shots and up, and it's very consistent. Now, if you want it to be even better, we can go up here and we'll put on the Imperator long barrel, and you can extend that range out to 7.8 meters. This is the magic right here. This is why it's so good. So if we swap over to the time to kill chart and we move the location-based damage to stomach, you'll see the BOLO rounds, which are the orange line, that first range where you can get a 480 millisecond time to kill extends out to that 7.8 meters. That's where the magic happens. Now, if you hit chest shots, of course, that's where explosive slugs, this blue line takes over, but because it's so consistent with its damage, whether it's arms, wrists, it's your belly button, it's your nipple, whatever, as long as you hit them above the waistline, you're dealing that 110 damage with this slug. It's, well, rather BOLO round, sorry. So these things have a little niche, and that is it. That's why it's so good. It's very consistent in its max damage range. Even past its max damage range, it's okay. It's 720 milliseconds. You're going to get shredded by a lot of SMGs like the FJX Horse and the Superi. They're just so good. And this thing, it's basically you have to hit your shots or you're going to die. If they hit their shots first, you're pretty much dead. This is really where you want to stay, in this max damage range out to 7.8 meters. So the long barrel is pivotal in his builds that I run with it, and I think that it's very, very good. Now, that's the main idea about why these things are so good and why they're so fun. Now, another couple interesting things about this is you get some extra things, some extra perks, such as crippling power and inflicting the wounding effect. So these aren't super useful in Warzone. They're okay, but basically you have to hit legs for the crippling power to take effect, which basically makes it to where they can't sprint. It's almost like a slight stun, but you only get that really from hitting their legs. So it's not super practical in that sense because you want to be hitting upper torso, especially in that max damage range, but it's a nice little cherry on top if you want to call it that. The wounding effect is also nice because it basically means the enemy can't regenerate their health, which basically means that the enemy is taking longer to heal their health. Now, they can play it up, but they're basically going to take longer for their health to regenerate. This is actually pretty nice for a game mode like quads or trios because you'll have teammates that probably rush them. Now, again, it's not super practical, it's not super great, but it is helpful, and hey, it'll probably catch some people off guard. They're probably wondering, why am I not regenerating health? It's because of these BOLO shells. So it's really nice to have these extra additions, but the main thing that's so good about these is consistency in its max damage range with stomach shots and up. You are getting very consistent 3 shots. It's very, very good and extremely fun, but of course, you have to aim well, you have to hit your shots well. These are basically little marks marksman rifle projectiles you got to use. You have to kind of lead your shot a little bit, even up close. It feels a little strange. Just keep that in mind. They are a little quirky to use, but man, they are so fun once you get the hang of them. As for some classes to run, this is the first class that I landed on that I had some good results with. It's basically an overall balanced class. It's got good visual recoil. It's not really super obnoxious. It doesn't have a lot of visual flash because of that nice sight, and we do have the extra range barrel, so it is nice. Now, we are rocking the FTAC MSP98 hand stop. That's going to give you a little bit better recoil control and some good aim down sights, movement speed, and mobility overall, so that is nice. Now, one thing to keep in mind with this build, you don't have great handling. Your sprint to fire speed's not the greatest at all. It's over 200 milliseconds, and your aim down sights is also pretty bad. So you're going to have to pre-aim in some situations. You're going to have to be careful with this thing because you can't be super aggressive. Just keep that in mind. Now, if you want a build that's a little more catered towards movement or actual mobility, this is what I landed on for that. Again, it's just not going to be that great overall in terms of handling because the Haymaker, just no matter how you kit it, it's going to be slow unless you put on ridiculous attachments. So basically for this one, we're rocking the Razorhawk laser, the big barrel BOLO shells, of course, the glassless eye optic because it's probably one of the best optics in the game, and then no stock. If the recoil is a little bit much for you, you can always take that off and put something on like the Flash Twist 90, which really does help the muzzle flash and the recoil control. But overall, this is a nice one if you're going to be very aggressive or try to be aggressive. Again, I don't really recommend it just simply because this handling on this gun is not the greatest. But those are the classes that I recommend trying out. And of course, they're just blueprints. Feel free to edit them as you see fit to your liking. As for my overall thoughts on BOLO shells, I'm damn surprised. I can't believe I never thought about checking these out in Warzone. I just remember checking them out in multiplayer thinking, these are garbage. I don't ever want to touch them again. And then in Warzone, I'm just kind of overlooked them for 4 seasons. And then finally, I used them and I'm very surprised. And they're probably my favorite slug type ammunition for the Haymaker now, simply because in that max damage range where it's the easiest to use, it's so consistent, such great damage, 3-shot, 480 millisecond time to kill. So good and so fun, but it is hard to use. You're going to get shredded by SMGs. I guarantee it in a lot of situations, but stick with it. Enjoy the kills you do get with it because, man, it is incredibly satisfying when it does work. But that's pretty much going to do it for this video, guys. As always, I want to know down below in the comments, what do you think about this class setup or these class setups? And what do you think about BOLO shells? Do you think it was weird that I overlooked them for so long? Are you happy that I finally covered them? Do you think I'm kind of full of crap and they're not really that good? And with all that being said, guys, I will see you in the next video.